son and that, you think of material things, but we're talking about more than material things. We're talking about the love of God. His love is unbounding. The love, the faith, the hope, the joy, the peace, the long-suffering, the gentleness, the meekness, the temperance. That's his nature. He wants to empty us. Why? So that he can fill us. You see, how can you be emptied if you're filled with yourself? He said he has to make you of no reputation. He has to empty you. And that, first of all, we have, like I said, we have to have in mind who we are, who we belong to, that we're not our own. Secondly, that's the mind of Christ. Secondly, you have to recognize, you have to make a commitment. God, I'm on board with this. I'm okay with this. Go ahead, do this in me. I make a commitment to this emptying process. This being made, even though you're equal with God, even though Jesus was equal with God, he allowed himself. He put him in a place that say, okay, that's not a thing I have to hang on to. Didn't selfishly grasp it. But he says he emptied himself, or made himself of no reputation. King James says he made himself of no reputation, he emptied himself. Okay, God, you have to make a commitment. God, I want you to empty me today. I want you to make me of no reputation today. You see, he cannot fill you with all of his love, his faith, his joy, his peace, his long-suffering, his gentleness, meekness, temperance, faith. He can't fill you with all those things if he doesn't empty you first. You see, he has to empty you first. And you have to make commitment to it. In other words, you can't be on board with it today and change your mind tomorrow. I mean, you can. You're a human being and you have the right. He's given you the right to choose. But he wants a lasting commitment. Amen. He wants you to make a commitment. Okay, God, go ahead. Why? Because I am your son. I am your daughter. I am part of the family of God. I am part of his family. I want to act like my family. I want to live like my family. Amen. I want to be like my family. I want to love like my family. I want to have faith like my family. Isn't it a great family? With faith. Jesus has said to the incarnate Christ that he spoke these worlds into existence. Created man of the dust of the earth. Breathed his breath into him. And man was created, Adam and Eve. Adam was created, then he took the rib from Adam, so on and so forth. Created all the animals, knew what to call them, put all the basic, all what the National Geographic says, the instincts of the different species. God knowing all about that, knowing how this one would react with this and what this one would do with this, and putting all that in, you know. We went down the trail and watched the dog fetch a stick, and he was just loving it. And how he held the stick, rather than hold the stick sideways in his mouth, if you think about it, the dog held the stick straight out the front of his mouth. Why? He was in water. He was fetching the stick and retrieving it in water. How did the dog know to do that? Well, his instinct. He kept his stick straight forward so his mouth could stay closed more and not get water in it as he was swimming back. If he would have held the stick sideways, his mouth would have had to, the stick would have been in the back of his mouth, and his mouth would have been open like this, rather than stick here and being open like this. See, that's just the dog's instinct. Well, where did the dog get the instinct? It was put in him when he was created, amen. But that, okay, I digress. But anyway, the marvelous, you know, the knowledge of God, the experience, all that is available. He has to empty us in order to fill us, amen, with himself. Just as Jesus, who being in the form of God, that made himself of no reputation. Will you allow God to empty you today? To make you of no reputation. In other words, you're not going to make you're no longer desire to make your mark on this world. Well, I want to leave a legacy so that everybody knows what I did and so on and so forth. And they'll put a statue in Battleground Park or whatever in my honor, or mark on this world, to make their fortune, to make their $1 million, to achieve the American dream, houses and lands and so much money in the bank they don't know what to do with. Can you be made of no reputation? See, you have to know who you are, first of all. Secondly, you have to make commitment to God that says, God, I want this process to happen in me. Make me of no reputation. And it's a choice that we make as Christians. It's a choice each and every one of us has to make for ourselves. The church can't do it for us. Some pastor or some preacher or some evangelist can't lay his hands on you and make the choice for you. Some prophet can't come and prophesy it to you and it happened. It is yours, baby, and yours alone. It is your choice and yours alone. Prophets can't make it happen for you as much as you'd like for them to do it. Preachers can't do it. Evangelists can't do it for you. It's all on you. It's in your choice. It's your willingness, first of all, to allow God to do this in you. Secondly, is your choice for Him to say, yes, Lord, go ahead and do it. And then you have to be committed to it, the process. You have to commit because it goes against human nature. It doesn't go against the nature of God, but it goes against human nature. Amen? You understand what I'm saying? Made himself of no reputation, or in other words, emptied himself. You have to be emptied before you can be filled. It's what it says about old wineskins. You can't pour new wine into old wineskins. If you pour the new wine into the old wineskins, they can't handle it. They'll burst. So they have to prepare the wineskin. They have to rub it with oil and rub it with oil and rub it with oil and get it ready for the new wine. In other words, he has to massage. He has to get you ready. He has to prepare you. Amen. Runners don't go out and run a marathon without preparation. Well, you don't get the new wine without preparation. You have to be prepared for it. You have to be empty. You can't be filled with the fullness of God, the fullness of Jesus Christ, without being prepared for it. How do you be prepared for it? How does He prepare you? You have to be emptied. You have to make yourself of no reputation. Be emptied. You want to receive the blessing, you're looking for the blessing of God, you first have to be empty. Or let's say it this way, you have to be unempty. Right? There's usually a situation where you have a need. And then the blessing of God shows up. Paul said, and a lot of people quote it, I'm content whether I'm abased or I'm abound. I tell you, it's not easy to be content when you're abounding, isn't it? That's flesh, of course. It's a lot easier to be content when you're abounding. When you got money in the bank and everything is hunky-dory and all everything's paid. But Paul said you have to even be content when you're abased. When you're in need, in other words. When you lack. You still got to be content. Why? Because you know who you are. You see, prodigal son, he spent all the inheritance. He was slopping the hogs and he wished that he could eat what the hogs were eating. And he finally realized that, wait a minute, I have a father. He still loves me. Even though, yeah, I made a mistake. The mistake was in getting the inheritance. The mistake was in the fact of how he had used the inheritance, okay? The other son got upset, remember? Because he was there the whole time and didn't realize that the inheritance was available to him. What are we talking about? We're talking about our inheritance is to be like Christ. Our inheritance is freedom.